Hello, Recursive community. We're back here in Sofia with our next guest. He's driving innovation in one of the most exciting industries, the automotive industry. Thomas Metz is the managing director of Bosch Engineering Center, Sofia. Before that, he held various positions in Bosch Group. He worked in the field of automotive engineering, key customer management, and strategic marketing and sales. Thomas Metz joined Bosch more than a decade ago as part of their junior management program. He's a graduate in technology management from the Technical University in Munich. Thomas Metz, welcome to the Recursive Podcast. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks, Irina. I'm also very happy to be here.
Especially because we knew each other from, I don't know, probably from the very beginning, when you arrived here in Bulgaria. And I've been observing also your integration process, so to say. But today, I would suggest that we start with the early years of how your career started. I know that you've been part of Bosch for very many years, but you were born in Bavaria.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. When you started a university in technology management in Munich, how did you imagine your career would be? What did you dream of becoming one day?
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
This was in 2003. And as you correctly said, I'm coming from a rural area in Bavaria. Mm-hmm. It's a small village, 500 people, 500 cows. And nevertheless, around us, there are three of the major automotive plants of BMW and of Audi. Dingolfing, Regensburg, Ingolstadt, Munich, for those who know this area a little bit. My father also worked in this industry, a lot of friends' fathers, friends' mothers, a lot of connections. And that's why even before joining the university, for me it was clear I want to do something with cars.
Something with cars.
Back then it was not automated driving mobility, it was, cars, like solid automotive cars. And that's why during my whole life in school I tried to somehow prepare myself to what is needed to go in this direction. Mm-hmm. And I was always okay-ish in mathematics, physics and so on, but my passion went more into the business and society side of the things, and that's why I decided afterwards studying something which is combining those aspects, management, business, but also the mechanical engineering, which was back then even more needed for cars. That's the direction where I want to go. And the career I made back then I could not imagine, because I just had no idea how the whole industry will develop, what possibilities are. I just was sure I want to do something with cars. Mm-hmm.
So I guess back then autonomous driving was just only, kind of like part of sci-fi fiction.
Yes, I mean, in the 90s we were watching TV shows like Knight Rider, where you have this jumping, speaking, thinking car. There was movies like Back in the Future, cars which can fly and even switch in times. So this was fascinating for me as a boy, and this also contributed to the idea and the strong willingness to do cool stuff, and also not only, how should I say, do a job from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but really to move something forward and to change an industry.
By the way, I was just wondering, is it the same for German as well? I think especially for East Europeans, there will be always this distinction between fans of BMW, fans of Audi, fans of Mercedes, and if you stick with one of the brand, you will be loyal for the rest of your life. Funny thing, I remember at the cemetery in Vienna when I was living there, some of the people actually put the, how do you call it, the emblem, the emblem of their car on the gravestone, and that for me was the idea of brand loyalty, that you're going to be loyal to this brand till you die and even afterwards. So is it like this with German as well?
I think in huge part it is. Talking about myself, I was born as a BMW guy. Yeah? That's
Okay.
where my father worked, and my first car was an back then already 15-year-old BMW. I loved this car. But then during my studies, wow, shocking moment, I did an internship at Audi. And I realized it's not so bad, you know. And joking aside, it's really something what I learned back then, that this personal attitude or preferences should not stop you to look into different things, to learn, because I think there are a lot of great things maybe in different car companies and so on and so on. And it also led me somehow to my career within Bosch, because I realized that, of course, car companies are doing super cool stuff, yeah? But the differentiating factor is mainly about the design and the interface, how the driver is dealing with the car brands. The real technology, for example, for automatic driving, is more the underwear. And this is where big tech players like Bosch have really a huge stake, and where you can influence even more.
I like it. So it's the underwear of cars.
Not always seen on the first sight, but without it also, it's not so comfortable.
I think also for many people, Bosch is not really, a technology company which is somehow connected to automotive and to mobility. Can you share a bit more about that? I think we know Bosch from the household devices and maybe even from the medical stuff, but how present is Bosch in the cars of today?
I will answer that, but first I would like to share also an anecdote there, because at the end of my studies, so I studied from 2003 till 2008, and I always wanted to work with cars, and I got this great job offer from Bosch, and I called my parents. My mom was answering. I said like, hey, I'm gonna work with Bosch, I'm so happy.
So they recruited you already at the university?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can also tell about this. It's another nice story, how I was really fascinated from the beginning. And I called my parents. My mom was answering, and she was like, okay. So I was like, Mom, you're not so enthusiastic about it like me. What's wrong? Do you mind me moving to Stuttgart, or what's the issue? She said like, no. The only thing is, I thought you always want to do something with cars, and now you work with vacuum cleaners. And I'm like, okay. So yes, I want to support your point. A lot of people don't know what Bosch is doing overall, and mainly they connect us with household appliances, with power tools, maybe with our heating devices. The nearest you get as a private user to Bosch Automotive is probably with our service workshop, with the assembly parts, wiper blades, batteries and so on. But this is from our 400,000 people company, it's like 1/3 or 40% of the business. 60% is automotive.
60%?
60%.
Wow.
And we are very, very proud to be the biggest automotive tier 1 supplier in the whole world, globally, by far. And we had also to strengthen a little bit our image. When I joined back then, there was this campaign within the automotive industry saying there's no car without Bosch. And so far, I really have not met a car where there's at least one part coming from Bosch.
Wow. Okay.
And over the time, it was also developed. The origins were more in the classical stuff, like engine controls, braking systems, wipers, like all these things which keeps a car running. But since 2000, it really like even stepped up to things which at least is fascinating me: automotive driving, electromobility, connecting the cars with each other, with the environment, with the people. And I think there is even a lot more to come, because if you think now, finally, these different business units I shared are also making sense. If you imagine a car communicating maybe with your fridge at home, telling that you have to stop to buy milk and so on, there are a lot of cool things which I think can be expected from Bosch very soon.
Wow, I'm going to ask you about this kind of, idea of the world where the car is maybe connected to all the other devices, and the way the technology is coming closer a bit to humanity. But first, tell me, so they recruited you at the university, and then you started in their junior program? It was like an internship, or?
Yeah, so the junior management program is a program where you get an unlimited contract with Bosch. You're a normal associate, but they give you a very, very nice benefit that in the first 2 years you're rotating through different positions, 3 to 6 months.
Also internationally?
Internationally, at least 6 months. So my home base was in Germany. There I switched between Stuttgart, Heilbronn and Munich, but I also went for 6 months to Chicago in the US. And this was really one of the main reasons how I first got attracted to Bosch, because all this, like how big they are, how important for the industry, I also had to find out. I first got attracted by this program because it gave me the chance in this quite big corporation to make a network, to see what's going on, and really to find my passion from, okay, I want to do something with cars, into what exactly do I want to do. And the network which I built back then, the people I met, mentors, just informal, also other guys, this is still helping me in my personal career, but also in driving my business topics within the company.
How many places did you lived in with Bosch?
With Bosch, it's so far my 6th place. And Bulgaria, my 2nd international post, yeah.
And you've been part of Bosch now, according to the research that I have, more than 14 years.
Yes.
For me, you're like a unicorn of the millennials, because we millennials, we actually don't really stick with one company for more than, 3 to 5 years, and then we need to change and we need to do something else. But you stayed with Bosch for 14 years.
There are several reasons. And first, I have to apologize. I don't want to make a marketing campaign, but I really love this company. And there are 2, 3 other things which are important to myself and which made and also make me stay. Despite this automotive part, it's also not so known that Bosch is a foundation. So everything what we work for, also the, of course, revenues we are making, it's not going to some anonymous stakeholders or to a mogul who then has $1 billion more or less. It's really going to this foundation who reinvested in the company for more innovations. And the leftovers are given to really improve society. Yeah, classical NGO work. And this is something where I'm giving my best day after day after day for myself, for the people around me, but also there is another bigger cause behind that why we are doing this, and this is motivating me a lot.
This is a unique model, by the way.
It is unique.
It is. I think there are probably not more than 10 companies in Europe which are operating like this. So they basically excluded the dividends to their shareholders. The main purpose of the company is not to provide profits to the shareholders, but actually to be sustainable and also to do good to society. It's amazing, yeah. Okay.
And it also, of course, has some implications, and I think maybe there's a chance to later talk about it, because having a foundation also means that for big innovations, you cannot just collect billions of dollars to scale your business. You have to finance a lot out of yourself and partner up intelligently. But this is maybe a little bit of a side topic. The other thing is, yes, I'm a millennial and I also want to change a lot, but the cool thing is that within the structure of Bosch, I have the possibility to reinvent myself over and over again. You know, like this guy who was starting in 2008 as an sales engineer in Heilbronn has nothing to do with the person who afterwards went to aftermarket business in the US and is now running an engineering center in Sofia. It's completely different. Nevertheless, the underlying values, the creator framework, which very much resonates with me, this is stable, and this is something where, for me personally, I just have a home, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you have to describe how you feel about Bosch, like what is Bosch for you with one word?
For me, Bosch is family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very often that we find, such places to work. Usually work is work, especially for us millennials, this kind of like work-life balance, I hate this word, is becoming more and more important. And we imagine that our work will be just fun and we will be working with friends, but somehow corporates are losing their attraction, and at the same time feeling good about what we do, in a sense that it contributes to society in a meaningful way, is also very important. And I see that with not many corporations. I actually know a bit about Bosch, and for me Bosch also is kind of like an exception from the rule. Maybe because of that structure that
yeah, I think the structure is contributing. And just to add another aspect to this, in Germany we are calling the company not Bosch, but the Bosch, like it is a person, because the founder Robert Bosch and so on.
Yes.
It's also done, by the way, with Mercedes-Benz, the Benz, the Daimler, and so on. Nevertheless, I don't want to put this too high. Yeah, I also, from time to time, especially in my early years, saw the Bosch as a person. And I also have to clearly say the company, it's not a person. It's there for doing business, in our case sustainable business, do something good, but still it is business. Yeah.
Okay.
What makes it nevertheless for me and family and very personal, that's the people around it. And I realized already at my very first recruiting event where I was hired that because of the foundation, because of the topics we are doing, because of the values, because of the internationally, and so on, there were talents attracted with whom I connected in a very, very nice way, and where I grew great friendships. And these great personalities back then, also here in Sofia, where we do the same things, this is creating for me this special vibe, and that's why I call Bosch family.
How can you share a bit more of how you reinvented yourself during the years? Because I think you started more like in the sales and then key account management department. Now you turned a bit more into management. What did you learn also over the years?
First, I have to say I don't like the word management so much.
Okay.
I would prefer calling it leadership.
Okay.
And leadership is for me the constant in what I'm doing. Why? Because leadership is for me in everything, no matter if you're, in my case, leading an engineering center with my colleagues of around about 600 people, or if I'm leading as a single key account manager one project for my customer. It's always about leadership, about leading the people who work with me, no matter if they are my associates or if they're my peers. It's leading my business to be successful. And what it always is also for me, the basis is leading myself. How do I act in a certain situation? How do I become resilient to stress, and so on and so on. And in my case, for my career of leading maybe first a smaller business and then medium and now a bigger business, this leading myself is where I would say I develop most, and I also just saw, hey, there is more possible. I have fun about what I'm doing, and I want to take step by step more responsibility. Mm-hmm. And with more responsibility, I could influence more, drive more, create more. And of course, then around this willingness to do more, I also had to do some things, train myself, become trainings from Bosch, outside of Bosch, having mentors around me to help me. HR, of course, also plays a role. I mean, at some point you need to be promoted to different levels and so on. But this is, for me, all secondary. The first thing is about what do I want to do? What do I want to reach? And then just step by step, without too much pressure, see how it's evolving. And I choose a career path mainly connected with what's driving me, changing, innovating this automotive industry to something better, and also where I have the most fun, because when I have fun, then I'm resilient and I can do all those things, leading my business, leading myself, leading others with a lot of joy.
Leadership is an interesting topic, and especially, leading yourself, or because you said that you don't like managing. Sometimes people, especially here in the podcast, speak about managing themselves, and I think it's the key ingredient to solve, or the key issue to solve before you start leading others. Now, if you have to give an advice to someone who is, let's say, in their early 20s and they would aspire a career like that. So here in the background, we actually have also a couple of them who are now part of the Recursive Academy. And I think they're listening to you and they're thinking, actually, I would like, to become someday like Tom. What would be your best piece of advice to someone who is aspiring a career in leadership?
For me, the best thing that helped for myself is a little bit connected with this example we had before with the car brands, BMW and Audi. I think it's good to find aspiration from something you say, like, hey, this person, this lady, this guy is doing it really, really cool and well. Mm-hmm. Not only follow this one, look at a lot of different things. Also, not only focus on business, but see what's going left and right in society, with yourself, what is really needed, what building blocks you need to be in such a career. And then never copy, but take those different inspirations together to form yourself as a leader. Mm-hmm. Only with this you will create, or you will stay authentic and create even more authenticity. Mm-hmm. You will, throughout your whole career, stay with yourself, be yourself, and with this you will have a lot of energy to achieve whatever you want.
Who are your role models in this path?
Oh, how long is the podcast? No, I mean,
maybe you can name a couple
no,
of them.
I formulated it as a joke, but it's really, I also mean it. I mean, there is not the one role model in my, and I don't want to say career, in my life. There are so many people who heavily influenced me positively. I mean, starting with my grandma, who is like the most warming, caring person, which from the very beginning showed me how nice it could be to help other people, to develop other people, how this is also somehow making yourself happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Over great teachers who learned me not only Pythagoras in mathematics, but also what is behind it, like why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. In my university life, I think the biggest learnings were not going to university, but back then I lived in a student dormitory with people from over 100 countries, cultures.
Wow.
And and we had amazing parties together where we talked about so much crazy things, which are the biggest learnings in life, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, managers, my bosses, where also you can see how they are leading people, the business themselves, where a lot of great leaders I've seen. Mm-hmm. But also I've seen people where I say, like, sorry, but that's not how I would like to do it. Yeah. Where I also felt, no, I don't want to be treated like this. And in the specific moment, of course, it was not nice, but out of those negative experiences, I also made very, very strong learnings. Mm. And this is also maybe something which I would like to give as an advice, even if it's not always perfect. Also with Bosch, it's not always perfect. You know, there are days where I really like, not good. But overall, everything should go in the right direction. And after a certain time, a lot of things make sense. And for some things, I need 4 or 5 positive experiences to really understand what's happening here. And sometimes one negative experience is pushing you to the same thing, like, no, that's not how it's done. Mm-hmm. And bringing this all together, I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people I learned from. And I'm also looking forward to the hopefully 1,000 people where I can also learn something from. And I have to say, since I'm here in Bulgaria, I meet a lot of those people who are coming from a completely different background where I'm like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. Also, that's the way how it can be done.
What was your contact with Bulgaria before you moved? Here? And also, when you got the proposal to join the management team here, what did you think of where you're going to? What was your idea? What did you know about Bulgaria back then?
I have to apologize to Bulgaria or Bulgarians. Mm-hmm. Yeah? All I knew was what I knew was correct, but it was coming from a completely different time. My only connection with Bulgaria is coming through an aunt of mine, who is now retired. She was a teacher, and in 1992 she went to Bulgaria to teach here German for 6 years.
Oh, okay.
1992 was different than how it is today. And she was also not in Sofia, but she was in Pleven.
Oh, okay. Very different.
Very, very different. So what she described me was not so much what I finally then saw here from like infrastructure, food, amenities, and so on and so on. Nevertheless, one thing was 100% right. She met amazing, welcoming, friendly people back then who are still her friends, who she's still having contact with. And the exactly thing happened for me from the beginning. And this is what, I think we are repeating somehow this topic, but this personal interaction, that's what really counts for me. And that's what I was hoping for and what I really found. Then Bulgaria, you asked like how I felt with going to Bulgaria. So back then, there was no leadership team. Bosch is in Bulgaria for 29 years now. Okay. We are doing very successfully sales for all those units we described before, power tools, household appliances, and so on and so on. We also had a software branch here, but I was asked to open here a completely new automotive engineering center. And this sounded like amazing. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
So it's an interesting challenge,
And
of course, starting everything from scratch, more or less.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And then I traveled for the first time to Bulgaria, and I met my two local colleagues, Dinko and Konstantin, with whom I'm forming now the management board of Robert Bosch EOD, and we are running the engineering center here together. And yes, they resembled exactly what I was hoping for. Friendly, welcoming, great people, which opened their arms and said, hi, nice that you're here. And of course, there were different things what we had to get to know each other, and we went through a process and so on. And I never told Konstantin, but maybe I tell you, and he might then learn about it on the podcast. I was very irritated in our first discussion we had. I was talking about things that I would like to do here, and this guy was all the time shaking his head, and I'm like, oh my God, how can you be so negative? And this is gonna be a really tough job. Until I found out, okay, yeah, we are on the same page, And
I remember I was having the same issue in Vienna, by the way. So I had some colleagues, back then I was working as a waitress, and they would ask me to do something, and then I would shake my head. And I think now I'm confused how to do it, right? But, I would do, I would do it. And they were like, why wouldn't you do it? Why is she saying no? I mean, I just, it's the colleague thing to do. We support each other, and then they would be surprised, but she's still doing it. Oh, she said no.
And you can make it really complicated because now, being 3 years here, I think I became quite Bulgarian. I'm not judging if it's good or bad. It's now part of my personality, which also includes that I'm also quite often shaking my head if I want to say, yes, I agree. But people apparently see that and hear that I'm not from Bulgaria, though they are also completely confused. Like, okay, so what do you want? Say yes or no?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the special thing I think we have here. It is confusing. For me, it's also confusing, after living so much time abroad. When I'm in Bulgaria, sometimes I don't know how to shake my hand, so I would do something like this. Okay, good.
So you're prepared if you anytime you will move to India, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So you've been here now in Sofia, living actually very actively also as part of Bosch, but also as part of your social network for 3 years. And I gotta say, I was very surprised one day when I was talking in Bulgarian to someone, part of the group, and you actually understood everything. How can you learn Bulgarian so fast?
I wouldn't say fast. I would say I learn it quite slowly. This is how it feels to me.
Okay.
I'm still trying to become better and better, but for me, it has different aspects why I want to do it and why I do it.
Yes, why would you learn Bulgarian? A language that is spoken by not more than probably 8 million people around the world. It doesn't really help.
Yeah, and also on the other side, those 8 million people, I would say 5 million out of them speak perfect English, some even German, so you would survive here quite comfortably without Bulgarian. For me, it's about... first of all, respect. I mean, I'm living here. People are so nice to me. So I think it's also my task to make a step towards those people I work with every day. I mean, in our company, everybody speaks fluent English. This is also a requirement. And we have a lot of different nationalities here in Sofia. So it's not like pure Bulgarian, but I think it is just, like I said, it's something what I feel as respectful to my peers here. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to learn about the culture, to understand what's going on. And also, I always appreciate to develop and challenge myself. And this effect of sitting down on your desk 10, 15 years after leaving university, 20, 25 years after school, sitting down and learning a language and vocabulary, this is something which does something with you. Unfortunately, I don't do it as often as I should, according to my own expectations. But from time to time I do it, and I always feel very, very nicely afterwards about it. So to bring it to another level, again, it's a combination of me wanting to interact with people better, me of having fun in something, and me of developing and really going into a topic. Yeah? So that's why it was, for me, never in question, should I learn or not? I just did it, and yeah, it's good.
Okay. And is it helping you also at work in some way? I guess more in the kitchen, you know.
I think it's helping. Yeah, it's helping. But it's not essential, let's say.
Yeah.
People are really, and it's also something what I'm super grateful for, they are really taking care about me, and this means that especially in the beginning they were including me in all the conversations, even if I didn't understand. They were switching for me in English and so on. And now, of course, it's also something which makes me more calm and comfortable about them not needing to switch just for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know very much what you mean. By the way, for the past 3 years, how did Bosch Engineering Center in Sofia develop? What are the things that you're most proud of when you now maybe look back to how it all started, you know, since the first meeting with Konstantin and Dinko? And when you look at it now, what are you most proud of?
The combination of the sheer growth of our engineering center with creating a unique culture of the Bosch, and about what is for me outstanding in Bulgaria. And I would like to explain a little bit all three things, because they can be misleading. When you hear growth, you might have thought like, yes, those guys grew from 0, 100 to now 600. Yes, but what I mean with growth is what kind of projects we are working on, the responsibility we are taking, growth in terms of our image within Bosch, within the whole automotive industry in the market here. There are so many aspects of where we grew to a level which I would have never imagined, expected before. It's really something where my colleagues and me are super, super proud about. Yeah.
Wow.
And the second thing, this culture, this is also what we would like to maintain, and which is where we started from. We said like, hey, Bosch, and I don't repeat now what I said before, you heard about those advantages which Bosch is offering. Now, if you combine this, corporate sounds a little bit, too systematic, but you know what I mean. But if you combine this benefits with the entrepreneurship, this willingness to develop, to become better every day, which I see here in the engineers, you combine it with the know-how that Dinko, Konstantin, and also our other leaders have about the market. If you combine it with the experience our colleagues have it before joining Engineering Center Sofia here, you create something which is very, very, very powerful. And this creation we try to implement in a culture of really sticking together in this Bosch family, in this Bosch Sofia family, because with this we hope that we create something where everybody feels comfortable, where we will hopefully stick together forever. I mean, no family, like there are also sometimes struggles, but a family sticks together in good and bad times. And with this, I don't only mean Dinko, Konstantin and me, I'm very, very confident to speak for everybody at Bosch in Bulgaria. We created something where we have found for us the perfect place to be right now. Yeah? No other work, no other office is resembling this connection of growth in all terms, cool projects, cool people, and a family style. For me, unique.
I can only share that as an observer by participating at your Christmas party. It was actually quite fun.
Well, with this, I said, like, families go to good and bad times. With Christmas party, you saw the very good times. We are not having Christmas party every day.
Oh, that's true. Speaking of the bad times, how do you survive the pandemics as a company which has 400,000 people around the world? How did you experience that here in Bulgaria?
Well, being such a big company, we were very well prepared for the pandemics.
Okay.
No, sorry.
No.
This was a German joke, sorry. No, we did not see it coming. Yeah.
Okay.
But we had the right infrastructure, the right setup from, again, the global Bosch organization, with having all the technical requirements to work from everywhere. We had the right people here on site who, within 1-2 days, rearranged everything in just being physically able to work from home.
Okay.
And we had the right partners with Bosch around the world, our customers who did the same, and we helped each other, learned from each other, and pushed each other into the right setup. The outcome, fantastic. I mean, Corona is still not over. Right now we are hoping for a good summer, but also are a little bit concerned about what happens with us from a health point of view in the fall. But from a business point of view, we are relaxed because we have proven, and I think this is not unique to Bosch, a lot of companies did it, so it's really kudos and credits to so many people, businesses around here, that we can work from the office, we can work from home, we can work remote. We are really, really doing everything that we are prepared for all situations coming now. The way getting there, quite hard. Not from a business point of view, our results are excellent, but on a personal level. Seeing what it does with the colleagues, also with myself, of not having this routine anymore, but staying at home. And there we just tried different things. Some worked, some didn't work, but the overlying concept was always family, looking on what is needed for the people, for our people, how can we help them? Also realizing, recognizing and communicating that we cannot take every stress and every relief from them, but we try to do a lot of things to make it as comfortable as possible. And we were also asking how we can help, how we can do, and so on and so on.
You know, I'm thinking, because you mentioned this growth, and it was also growth in numbers, it was also growth in team size, it was growth in so many ways, but you still mentioned that you managed to sustain this culture, although 2 of your years were actually during pandemics. And how much time were you staying at home, working from home?
So what we did is that in March 2020,
yes.
With also the announcement of the emergency state, we moved fully into home office, saying everybody who can work from home should please do it. And only very, very few, a handful of people, and also great thanks to them, were saying, hey, we are working with automotive systems. There are still parts, physical parts involved. They went to the office and kept the business running. This maintained throughout the whole pandemic. Still, we are in a phase where we say, guys, please come back to the office if you want to. We appreciate it, because also spending time together is forming this family. If somebody is not feeling comfortable, it's still okay to work from home. And then speaking for the engineering center, Sofia, which the three of us are managing, we are from September onwards moving into a hybrid way, which is also something, openly speaking, we needed some time to find out with all leaders in our organization, also with interviewing our colleagues, our engineers, our administration about what they prefer, and combining this personal preferences with our culture and our business. What do I mean with this? This hybrid way will be that more or less 50% you can work from wherever you want and 50% from the office, more or less.
Okay.
There are some people who say, but I would like to prefer to work fully from home or wherever. And nevertheless, we could not implement this wish of some of our people into our decision, because our main value is this family, and we saw nevertheless over those 2 years, despite being successful and growing, that we need to spend time together. And this is why we also have to bring people, at least from time to time, together in the office. And this is a decision which we explained very carefully, which we are still explaining, and where we hope and see that a huge majority, I would say almost everybody, is also understanding why it is necessary, where this decision is coming from, and where our colleagues are also willing to contribute, to make their way into the office in order to contribute to our family.
Wow. I think this pandemic phase, and especially the time where we were fully remote, not knowing how it is going to continue, not knowing how to deal with the disease as well. That was also the time before the vaccine. I think that was very challenging, especially also for leaders, because all of a sudden you had to, observe this kind of cultural preferences or cultural specifics, and also personal preferences of people. You had to observe them over Zoom. What did you learn as a leader from that situation? How did it affect your ability to be empathetic with your colleagues? And again, I think what you did is amazing, because introducing the Robert Bosch culture to a Bulgarian unit, which was newly formed, where you were hiring and hiring and hiring. How many people are there now?
In the engineering center, we have 550.
500, and you started with
110.
110. So you grew almost 5 times, mainly during the times of the pandemic. I think what you did is actually extraordinary. Yeah, still maintaining this kind of culture and introducing it also even further to you people. How did you manage that? And what did you learn as a leader from that situation?
So my personal learning is that you have to actively care about people. What do I mean with this? Before the pandemic, when I met my colleagues, often in the kitchen, in meetings and so on, it's like you said, you saw emotions. This suddenly was not there anymore, and you actively had to ask people, how are you? You have to actively spend time for socializing before jumping into a topic. Okay. You have to actively spend time to care about the family, thinking about events, thinking about surveys to get the mood, talking with different people, setting up virtual things, and so on and so on. And my learning is that maybe before the pandemic, we should have done this better and more systematic, because I have to say that I'm a very content-driven person. I want to push things, and with this, I like, Irina, how are you? I'm good. Okay, super.
Let's talk business.
Let's talk business.
I know,
And just seeing one smile in the kitchen does not mean that everything is perfect and the person is super happy. So also now coming back again more often together, one of the things what I want to do is also to keep this mindset of caring, of asking, of looking behind this face for our next steps.
Wow. Let's talk a bit about the future. What are you looking forward to when it comes to Bosch Bulgaria now? Or in the engineering center itself? What is the role that the engineering center is now playing in this global organization? What do you work on projects which are kind of international, and like what is the significance of the things that you're creating here, as far as you can say, because I guess there is a lot which needs to be kept confidential.
I can say.
Okay.
So the significance of the engineering center here is very, very high in the meantime. We started 3 years ago with supporting some running things, then slowly taking over projects, jumping into task forces, and really enlightening our customers with, like, okay, here we are, what can we do? And just improving the status quo. Now we moved into the next phase where we really from the scratch engineer innovations which will improve the life of all of us tremendously. We do this out of Sofia. Without Sofia, those innovations would not be possible. And nevertheless, those innovations are done in global teams, which means we have teams of, sometimes we have a project where 100 people are in Sofia, and it's only Sofia. Then we have projects where we have 50 people here, 50 in Germany, 100 in the US.
Wow, okay.
Sometimes it's 100 people in the US and one expert out of Sofia is supporting. Yeah? So it's really a lot of different methods, and we choose the work mainly about, is it interesting for us? Is it interesting for our guys? Can they contribute? Can they show their expertise? Can they develop? And what we also want to do is that we always want to have the direct relation with a product. That in the end, there is something in the car where you, as my colleague, can say, that's what I have done. Yeah?
Okay, wow. And can you point out that something like this that has been done already by the Bulgarian team, where you can say, okay, that's been done by the Bulgarian engineering center?
There are a lot of things. I will point out one example,
Yes.
Because it shows very nicely, from my point of view, how a technical solution can also shape an industry and make the overall life better, not only of people who are driving a car. So one of the things which are developed here are systems for in-vehicle sensing. These are little cameras mounted within the car who can observe what the driver is doing, but also what other passengers are doing and what's happening there.
Okay.
The technology behind this is a mixture of image recognition, but also spiced up with artificial intelligence, that those systems are really recognizing, interpreting about what's going on in a car. Huh?
Okay.
This is the technical level done here in Sofia. Great jobs where really our colleagues are globally so impressed, saying like, wow, okay, so specialists you have here, nice. Yeah?
So if we imagine a situation where, I don't know, let's say a couple is driving and they're starting a fight and it's actually becoming dangerous to drive, then using this kind of technology can actually, make the car, in a way, force the driver to stop by and say, okay, this is not a good time for you to drive now.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is for me what is so fascinating about our developments. Like this, if you tell somebody camera, image recognition, AI, okay, that's technical stuff. Yeah, but the use case you said, just observing a driver if he's getting
Sleeping.
tired.
Yes, okay.
Observing if maybe, here it's fortunately not so often happening, but in the US, those cases where parents are leaving their babies behind in a car.
Oh, okay.
The system can detect. Later on, for robo-shuttles, to keep them clean also, like this car-sharing cars, to just observe, does anybody leave trash behind, that if I'm the next user that I have a nice car? Or also use cases like, unfortunately, we have some also recently again and again here in Bulgaria, just seeing if somebody is drunk. Yeah, true. So from apologies to my colleague, simple solution. It's not simple. It's a lot of work. I could not do it. But deriving so much groundbreaking use cases which help the driver, the occupants, but also make you as a pedestrian walking on our streets here in Sofia more safe. This is why we get up every morning. Yeah.
Is the time to market shortening also for such kind of innovations? I remember I have a friend, he's Bulgarian, working in Bavaria actually for one of those brands that you mentioned. And he told me, sometimes we work on something and it's going to be in the market in 5 years. So is the time to market shortening? And from what you're currently working on, can you, I don't know, give us maybe a glimpse of how should we imagine the future of automotive in, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years?
So, first part. Yes, it is shorting.
Okay.
Out of different reasons.
Okay.
Should I tell some reasons? Or
the good news is that it's shortening.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
One of the main drivers for this is that we are not talking so much about parts produced and put in a car.
Okay.
But it's a lot about software, so that you can update. Also, by the way, one of the main reasons why we are here at the engineering center doing a lot of software. We also have hardware. We also have a small mechanic groups, but software, this is like our main pillar where we drive a lot of innovations, because this is where, you have to be fast to be top notch.
Sure. Yes.
Then you see our products already in cars. They are things which we started to develop here in Bulgaria in 2020 are already on the road.
In such a short period?
In such a short period.
Okay.
Yeah? And now, giving an outlook, it's not so easy. And that's why there are different scenarios out there about how systems will develop. For me, the most likely scenario is that we see electrified mobility, especially with cars pushed like hell. For commercial vehicle, for long haul, we see other technologies like hydrogen. Automated driving is where I'm personally burning most for. There, I think we see a split of the trends. One trend is systems supporting a driver, let's say, kind of a traffic jam pilot. If you're driving here on Carigrádska Chaussee, you push the button and your car is more or less following the other cars, keeping the lane, maybe even overtaking other cars and so on. That's already very, very close to automated driving, but still there is a driver. From time to time, he has to hold the wheel. This stuff, according to recent researchers, will be by 2025 in over 70% of all cars. maybe not such a huge function, maybe just a little function helping the driver to keep the lane, and function of not falling asleep, and so on. So these pieces of assisted automated driving, we will very, very soon everywhere. And from what we talked about before, the chances that it's coming from Bosch are very, very high. And chances that also our colleagues here in Sofia were doing it are getting bigger year by year.
Wow, okay.
The second thing, this revolutionary thing, you know, you jump in a robo shuttle, there is no driver, it brings you from A to B.
Is this happening? I'm looking forward to that, actually.
It is happening. It is happening, yeah. From my point of view, this is still the pure gold.
Yes.
Why? Because the more we automate, the more we take the driver out of this whole system, the safer it gets. You know, we have up to, depending on which study you look, between 20 and 50 million people per year hurt in traffic situations.
Actually, there was a statistic that it's more likely for you to die on the way to the airport than if you fly.
Yes.
Yeah. That there are more cases per year of people dying in car accidents than since the whole history of airplanes. It's crazy. Especially, you know, I think that is happening a lot between Sofia and Plovdiv. You know, I'm from Plovdiv.
Yes.
Every time when we travel to the holidays, the situation in exactly this part is horrible. It's terrifying.
And the people driving there might confirm my point, saying that the main root cause is the driver.
It's human factor.
Is a human factor. And that's why the way forward to really zero road death is automating. Secondly, a lot of people don't have a driver's license out of different reasons. Maybe not you too old, not handicapped, just want to have one. Yeah?
Yes.
And for you having such a shuttle which brings you from A to B, that's, you know, like, I would make you happy, this would make me happy. Yeah? And then the third point, of course, there's also quite some nice business models behind it. Yeah? Service models and so on. So what I want to say is this technically is possible. We have to do some legal work. In Germany, it's allowed from end of this year onwards to do such solutions.
Wow, okay.
It will come, but it is quite pricey. That's why we will see it depending on the business case in very specific scenarios. For example, what Bosch already did is parking garage, Stuttgart Airport. You can bring your car there.
Okay.
You get out of the car, push a button, and the car automatically drives through the parking garage to its spot.
Nice.
Fascinating, really fascinating.
Okay.
And use cases like this, you will see more, not only from Bosch, all the other companies. Nevertheless, by 2025, it's still a single-digit percentage of the overall traffic we see. But because of those advantages we discussed, with a huge impact. So we also go for this.
Wow. Okay. It makes me looking forward to it as well. What about you yourself? So I think part of, you know, the privileges that you have working for a big company like Robert Bosch is that the impact that you can have when it comes to a different field of innovation is huge. It's immense. I mean, you develop it in Sofia, and then at some point it, you know, is now being present in cars that you can go to the shop and buy. What is the impact that you would like to have when you think of from a long-term perspective, let's say 20 years, when you look behind and you want to say, okay, this is the impact that I left behind?
I want to make the world better. And I'm now not only talking about cars. I mean, like, really, for example, doing my part that nobody dies on the street anymore. The way to this I want to achieve by doing good to all people, colleagues, partners, friends, family around me. And after those 20 years, I still want to look in the mirror and see the same person looking back, like this authenticity, staying with myself. Those are for me the three cornerstones. If I will achieve it, I don't know. So far, I'm happy how it goes. I'm also know some things where I can still get better every day. So for sure, it will not be boring. And then maybe we have the chance to keep our friendship for the next 20 years and then have a discussion about looking back how it went. Yeah,
I would hope so. I would really hope that you would actually also stick around, because I sense that you're like an enrichment of our community here, or the way that I sense it. I have one other question, which is also a bit, so you spoke about the authenticity, but also about the process of reinventing ourselves over time. What do you think is now maybe a bit Bulgarian in you? How did the situation here change you? What do you see in yourself, which is now, okay, this is new, this is because I got part of the culture here?
For me, Bulgaria is very inspiring from a mindset. I meet so many people, including you, who are not getting up in the morning and say, I go to work, but I don't care so much what I do. I'm living for the hours after work. And work is something, a necessary evil to earn some money. People who get up to do something, to get better, to develop, no matter if it's a startup, if it's society, if it's whatever, yeah. And this connected with a strong belief that really things are getting better. Yeah, even if not everything is perfect, but if you work hard, in 2 years from now, it will be better than it is today. This mindset, this belief is for me, compared to Western countries, the biggest advantage of Bulgaria.
Wow, okay. I never perceived it like that. It's interesting that sometimes actually people who come from abroad, I don't like the word foreigner, but let's say maybe like expats, have a clearer perspective of what is happening here than us being stuck in the whole thing. I think sometimes Bulgarians, especially when they reflect about themselves, are way too judgmental and way too negative. And then you have someone who has not been part of the culture, who is now becoming part of it. It always amazes me how people like you actually appreciate what we have here more than we actually do. You're better ambassadors for Bulgaria than the Bulgarians, really.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I think I also have to give credit and be very, very grateful that, of course, the people I'm dealing with, people like we met, our friends who are more in the startup area, the other business leaders I know here, the people at Bosch. I mean, of course, although this is from my perception, outstanding people. Yeah, like this is the people who bring the country forward. Of course, if you take like the whole 7 million, there are of course also a lot of people who might be disappointed from life, who are very negative, and so on and so on. This is normal, but this people, young people, and with young I mean especially like in the head young, there are people who are 70 years but still are young. This positive activism, this is bringing the country forward, and I think they are also pulling those people who might be a little bit more negative with them.
It pops into my mind that there is also something else that will stay with you and will be Bulgarian. You would never ever be able to dissociate your birthday from July morning.
Yes.
Yes. You will be probably continuing celebrating it somehow by greeting the sunrise.
And I found it here, yeah. I mean, a lot of people in Bulgaria think July morning is something international. It is not. It is one of the great Bulgarian inventions, yeah.
Very much true. Tom, thank you so much for this conversation. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up, although I would like, us to speak a bit longer about certain topics. It never feels like we managed to cover them all.
Well, I'm German, so I'm good in making plans. We can schedule something for in 20 years from now, and then we
exactly what
talk
I
about.
To mention. You're much better in goal setting and planning than we are, so I rely on you. And in 20 years, we will do another podcast. And I will check again if you're the same person when it comes to your, inner self and your heart. If you're the same in 20 years, or if, I don't know, your travels changed you and how technology also changed us.
I hope so. And maybe we come here with an robo shuttle and
that would be cool. Looking forward to this one. Tom. Thank you,
Irina.
much.
Next on the Recursive Podcast, we welcome the Greek investor and ecosystem builder, Dimitri Kalavros.
If I go back in time, I say, in most cases, we saw a competent and complete team.
Okay.
We did precedent seed, right? And this means that you have very few data points to assess. In most cases, you don't have any sort of commercial activity. In some cases, with our money, the company came into existence. They incorporated the legal entity, and also you just have the team, the product. If there is something you can see, the market, right? And it comes down to the people. And I guess that we emphasize so much the people element because in the absence of everything else. You have to feel that the caliber, the experience, and the overall quality of the person you have and the team you have in front of you will be adequate till they find some sort of
working solution.
Yes.
This is true. A good team can pivot and pivot and pivot if till it actually becomes successful.
You want to feel the hunger. You want to feel that they will put their money, the last 10 euros they have in the bank, into good use. I think that's very important. And obviously you need to have a good market. I mean, if you have a great team, and if these people are hyper ambitious and the market is not there, they will soon realize that they should pivot.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive Podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.